Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials,
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story,
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here is your host, Lauren McLean.
We're so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women that make BYU sports great. And joining us is Whittni Orton Morgan, recent Olympian and BYU Track alum. Thank you so much for being here with me, Whit.
Nice to be here. I'm excited to catch up.
Oh my gosh, no kidding. So, first things first, are you still basking in that Olympic glow? Is that still kind of a surreal thing to think that you did that?
I feel like it kind of comes and goes, but I don't feel like I've still haven't quite processed it. I'm just barely on my break now, so we'll see if it fully sinks in, but yeah, pretty crazy.
For now, it just feels like a dream. So you don't have to keep training. Is this a time where you give your body a break after all that crazy training?
Yeah, so nothing, no running, just relaxing, but I like to stay active just because I won't even enjoy my break if I'm not moving
Right.
a little bit. If I'm just laying there, I'll be like, this is terrible. But
I can't even imagine.
yeah.
I can't imagine being called an Olympian. What does that title mean for you?
It's really crazy because I feel like it means a lot more to the world now. Once you do it, the world views Olympians in a certain way, and that's more so what makes it crazy. It's not that my feeling towards myself has changed, but it's just the way people, they're like, you're an Olympian, and I'm like, yeah, that's crazy, but it doesn't feel, I'm not any different. I feel exactly the same. I'm like, still I look at other people, I'm like, they are working probably harder than me today. You know what I mean? It's crazy just the way the world views you, and I've worked really, really hard, as hard as I could. I've endured a lot of hardship, I've pushed through a lot of things that you have to do in order to become an Olympian, but I am just a human being,
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see the way the world views you versus the way you view yourself. It's been very
you feel exactly the same, and yet everyone else is kind of putting you on this pedestal.
Yep.
Interesting.
It's been crazy to just experience, but
So cool, though. So cool. So I want to kind of go back to the whole Paris experience. What was the feeling like as you boarded the plane to Paris, knowing you were about to compete in the Olympics?
Yeah, I feel like you can just feel the excitement building, as you're getting closer and closer, and as the days are getting closer, me and my husband would just be like, we're about to go to Paris. This is kind of crazy, and we're driving over and I'm wearing my USA clothes because they want you to wear US stuff so they can recognize you at the airport. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
This is so fun, And then his family was on the same flight as us. So it was just really fun, to kind of experience it with them and with my husband. And yeah, just getting there. And then right when we get to the airport, I just say my goodbyes and they take me off to the village, and they go and kind of just explore. They immediately go to a basketball game, a U.S. basketball game, right off the plane. They were just going hard. So it was just so fun for everybody.
And you went to the Olympic Village. What were your first impressions of that place?
It was super cool. The environment, you can just feel that it's a high level environment, everywhere you look, you're like, that is the fittest man on earth. That is the fittest man on earth or woman on earth. And you're just like, everyone is so fit. This is cool, And I feel like I was just observing everybody, how people do things. These are the most disciplined people, ever. And it was just really cool to be in that environment, and knowing that I'm also that as well. It was a cool feeling to be there.
You were one of the best, along with all those people that you were looking at and admiring. Who did you stay with? Did you have a roommate when you were there?
Yeah, so I was actually alone for a good portion of the first few days because I was one of the first events. So I had the whole like apartment to myself for a good like 3 nights or something before I had Courtney was my roommate.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then we roomed with Nikki Hiltz and a marathoner, but she never was there. And her name Emily Sisson. Yeah. So
And she's like, I'm not going to stay with you guys. I'm going to stay somewhere
yeah,
else.
it was
That's
actually
crazy.
more common for people to not stay there just because it's not like in your comfort zone to room with random people, you know, before
Right.
your biggest race of your life. I understand it, but I was also like, I kind of want to just embrace this whole environment and situation, and it was cool to be there for sure.
I love that. What was the team dynamic like at the Village for Team USA? Are people talking to each other and having a good time, or do people, because they're so focused, kind of keep to their own space?
It's a mix of both, I would say, but like it does feel more tight knit, especially Team USA TF track and field, team track and field. I feel like it's a very like close community almost. Before I was involved, like made Team USA, I kind of witnessed it from the outside, you know, and now like making it and being in with those people, it is like kind of like a little tight knit group. So it was cool to just kind of be a part of that and witness it. They treat you really, really good. So
What did you do during your off days between training and competition? Did you guys go to other events, or were you just dialed in the whole time?
it was crazy because I wanted to, but like time just kind of got away from you. Like you would go to the training center, you'd have to get all your meals, you need to get like recovery, and you needed to sleep because sleep was just it was so hard catching up and like getting on the right time schedule and then like needing naps because it's like I just ran a 5K, so I need to like nap, you know, and I need to do these things because I've never done 2 5K. Like this was the first year I've done 2 5Ks in that same amount of time, like that short amount of time. And usually it takes me a few weeks to like get ready for. I don't do 5Ks that close together ever, so it was just kind of like I need to just recover a lot. But I'd go get some good meals. I went out to dinner once or twice with my family, but yeah, I didn't actually go to any other events, which I'm kind of sad about, but hopefully we'll go to some other Olympics another time and get to watch some other people. But
Well, honestly, the timing of your races too, I would imagine that it would be really hard to go do anything else when you're trying to be focused on your event. Take us through the experience of the qualifying round for the 5,000 meter. What was going through your mind during that race?
it was insane. I feel like in both of my races, I feel like I was just so like, I was focused. Like, I'm like, I know where I'm at right now and there's no room for error for me. Like, I'm not going to be lying to myself. Like, the way I got here was a miracle. And so actually being there, like, I did feel like I deserved to be there by the time I got there. But I was like, mindset, like, you can't make any mistakes. You know, like if you want to hit your goals, you have to be pretty much perfect. And I can honestly say that I can't think of anything I did wrong. Like I was like, I kind of raced to my maximum, like mentally, physically, like I was like so smart. I was so tough when I needed to be. This is what I'm here to do, and I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. I'm going to rely on God for the rest. He definitely got me here. I mean, I'm guessing there's a reason I'm here. So let's see why he wanted me to be here, you know? So it was just really empowering. And like when I did it, like it was so fun that first round because my first goal was to make the final, which if you're an Olympic finalist, that just kind of solidifies it. Like, yes, you are deserving. You deserve to be there. And so that was my first goal. I've never made a U.S. team before, so that's kind of a good first goal to have on your first experience for Team USA. So when I was racing, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go out and just be relaxed. I'm going to conserve every bit of energy that I can because the 5K is pretty long. You don't want to be fighting, and kind of just went in the back and just like stayed very relaxed and very locked in. And then when I felt like I needed to move kind of closer, maybe like with 3 laps or a mile to go, I just kind of made like a smooth move, got in good position. And then when the group started going, I just attached and I felt really good. I was like, I'm like, I could win. I'm like, I feel like I could win this race. And then they took off and I'm like, well, I need to conserve as anything I possibly can. And so like I like had to refocus and go back to where I was and then just like go with it. But I closed really hard and it was just so fun. I saw my husband, I don't know how he was literally in the perfect spot. Like when I came out from the finish line, I look up and I see him and I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like crying and we had a really fun moment right after my race. And it was just, there's the picture that the BYU photographers actually got of me. Like I was looking at my husband and we were both just like, yes, like, and I was on the track and it was just really, really special. But
that's so, oh my gosh. Well, I watched your race and I like, it still gives me chills to even think about it. It was amazing. And hearing the commentators talk about you, and I feel like even just as a BYU alum, I'm like, I feel a little bit of pride. Like Team USA and BYU watching Whittni, it just was, you were so amazing. And you finished less than 2 seconds behind the woman who eventually won the gold medal. So what an incredible race. What did you feel when you realized that you did qualify for the final?
I was just super happy. Like you think about it, right? You prepare mentally, like you're doing a lot to get your mind right and be in that place when the time comes to capitalize on the opportunity and just make the most of it. So I was just like, I was super grateful and just super, super happy. Like just so happy. I don't really know how else to explain it. Like it just I felt good. And I met up with Coach Taylor was under the tunnel when I got out there, and she was just like, you can imagine how crazy she was.
I love her.
She was like screaming her head off. She scared all of the officials. They were all like jumping, like they were like, how is she screaming that loud? Like she was so excited, and it was just really, really special and really fun. She was really proud, and it makes me happy to make her proud because she put so much into us too. So when she's proud, I feel good. I'm like, oh, I did it. I do it for more than just me, you know? So yeah. It's nice. It's nice to make your family and your coach proud too.
She almost seems like she is kind of part of your family at this point, right? With how much time you spend with her and how much you two have invested into each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like just I think going through hard things with people just gives you a special bond, you know, and she's always been there to help me choose to do the hard thing, you know, and she's there with me enduring it, and she's feeling the hardship of it, and she's crying with me, and she's cheering with me. Like she really, really is. And so like I love her. I really love her. She's a special and important person in my life, and I think we were definitely meant to link up in life. So I feel extremely blessed.
During your interview on NBC, you threw out a "Go Cougs" at the end, which I loved that so much. I loved it so much. Did you plan on doing that, or was it just like, oh, I'm going to do this at the spur of the moment? No,
I just I think after a race, first of all, 5K, your brain is like gone, right? And so like you have no filter. And I just wanted to thank everybody because I felt like everybody in my life has just been like reaching out and just like pumping me up and like just hype, like BYU, my hometown, you know, like my family, my friends, people I don't know or haven't seen in years, or everyone's messaging me and just so pumped and so excited for me. And I just wanted to like give them all a little shout out and just be like, yeah. So of course, BYU Nation had to get one of those because wouldn't be there without BYU, you know? So
I loved it. Well, I tweeted that out and it like blew up because I was like, I don't know how many people are watching this. I feel like BYU fans have to know that Whittni gave him a shout out. So they loved it. It was awesome. Walk us through that 5,000 meter final. What were the highs and lows during that race?
Whew, I'm like trying to remember. It just was such a surreal moment to be on the starting line for the Olympic final. I was so excited for both my races, which a lot of times like you have a lot of like anxiety and a lot of like almost like kind of good nerves, but some bad, you know, like some that are like a little bit like, ooh, like this is going to hurt or like, because the
Yeah.
5K hurts, like it hurts,
Mhm.
So it was crazy that I was to the point where I was like, I truly don't even care. Like how bad it hurts. Like I already know what I'm going to do. I already know I'm going to push as hard as I can. I'm just so grateful and happy that I'm here and it's going to be cool. And
Yeah.
so like, that's kind of how I was approaching it. And I was all smiles on the start line and the gun goes off. And I kind of just did the same game plan as I did in the prelim. But it's kind of cool. I felt like I was in flow truly, like in both of my races. And my cousin she's been manifesting that I'm Olympian for like a year. It's hilarious. But she was just like always telling everyone that I was. And I'm like, I haven't qualified yet. You got to chill, and she created a playlist for me when I made it to the Paris. And there was a song that's called an Olympian. I've never heard it before, but like I was listening to her playlist and it was really cool. Like I don't know why or how, but when I was in the middle of my race, that song came into my head for like a few minutes and I was just like listening to it in my head. And it's a cool song. Like it says like you're an Olympian, like keep on fighting, like those kind of words in your head. And it was just
Yeah.
like I'm totally in flow right now. Like this is incredible. But yeah, so I had a moment of that, and then I had a moment of like, oh, this hurts. I'm like, if I'm gonna be completely honest, in the 5K, you pee your pants, okay? Like it hurts so
Oh.
bad that you lose control a little bit. I'm like, there's a few laps of that going on, and then a lap of like I can't see very well, and I'm just gonna go as hard as I can.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was the last lap, and I was able to finish like still a little bit harder and pick it up a little bit the last 100 meters. But your vision is like a little blurred, and you're just selling it. You're giving it all. So that was kind of how the final went for me. I did everything I could, so I was just really proud of what we put out on the track. But
That sounds miserable and exhilarating all at the same time. Oh my gosh.
yes, that's the perfect
Oh my
description.
goodness. You ran a personal best in the final after
Mhm.
going blind on the last lap, apparently. And you ended up finished 14th. So you said you wanted to make top 10. How did you feel about where you placed, especially since you got a personal best?
Yeah, I was just so happy. Like that's the thing about running. Like you can have a goal, but like at the end of the day, like it really is less outcome driven and more like process driven. For me, when I actually run to my full capacity, it's like my goal today is to be as tough as possible and just see what my body is capable today. Like it's not going to be my mind that stops me today. Like I want to see
Yeah.
what my body is physically capable of, and that requires a really strong mind to push through some hard things. And so I always believe that you can always be a little tougher. You don't actually know what your mind can do, So I'm always trying to like strengthen my mind the best I can and see how far we can get with that. But I felt like I really gave it everything I had. So I felt really happy with how it all turned out. But
So awesome. So incredible. I mean, you were one of very few people who can say they did what you did. And you mentioned that your cousin was manifesting you becoming an Olympian, but was this a lifelong dream for you to become an Olympian?
I wouldn't say a lifelong dream. I don't have the story of I was the young girl that dreamed this my whole life. Like I was always hoping to do this. Like I had different goals when I was younger and I didn't it's hard to believe that you can be an Olympian, Like
Yeah.
I'm from a area where that's just not the norm. Like it's a small town. People live incredible lives here. It's peaceful, it's simple. And so I feel like when you're younger, you kind of look to your surroundings to what you want to be and what you want to become. I did want to be in the WNBA, so I don't know where that came from, but yeah. So I didn't dream of being an Olympian. I was like, wow, these people are insane. They are incredible. Like I could never.
Mm.
I think coming to BYU, Coach Taylor is kind of what changed that mindset for me, and she would instill these things like it started out with like you can be an All-American or like you can, and then it became you can be a national champion, and then going into pro it was like you can make the team. it just escalated, just having someone continually believing in you in whatever chapter you're in, whatever level you're at that time, like telling you she believes in you. And I'm kind of naive, and Coach Taylor is very honest. And so if she tells you that you can do something, she's not lying, because she'll also
Right.
tell you when you can't do something. She's like, you're not ready. You can't do it today. Like this isn't, you're not quite there, but we're going to keep working. So when she says those things, you're like, oh shoot, I can
Yeah.
do it. And so yeah, it wasn't a lifelong dream, but something that came to be by a lot of hard work and a lot of people that put a lot of good into me, including my high school coaches who still put into me to this day, and my family, my husband. It takes a lot of people, and a lot of people just reassuring you, or at least for me. Some people have a constant confidence that they're like, I am going to do this, but that eventually comes. But for me, like for that to be there, I had a lot of people that believed in me and saw some good things in me. So
A lot of stepping stones and a lot of building blocks. And you mentioned how much Coach Taylor meant to you. What did it mean to you to have Courtney Wayment at the Olympics with you, a teammate from BYU and on the pro level? What did it mean to you to have her there with you?
honestly, it was just so fun, right? Like we work hard, we do the hard nitty gritty things together every day. And I see how tough she is. She sees how tough I am. We like help each other in different ways. We have different strengths, and we've helped each other get to where we are, including my teammate Anna Camp. Like we've all worked so hard together day after day, stacking bricks together. And so to be there with her was so fun. Just so it does make it more special to have someone there with you that has seen it all, because like I could
Yeah.
talk to her and be like, oof, like I had surgery like 10 months or 9 months ago, and like I'm right here. And then she could like tell me her struggles that she went through, and I understand because I was there. It's more fun to watch when you have people that you like love, I'm like,
Yeah.
and all
Oh,
the
yeah.
BYU runners. It was really cool to share that with so many BYU runners. So
Well, like I said, that's even just us as BYU fans and spectators. That made the Olympics so much better for us to have BYU alum there running, representing Team USA. So you guys are amazing, and you made it way more fun for us here in Utah. I heard that your hometown, you mentioned how much your hometown means to you and your coaches there. I heard they helped raise money so your parents could go to the Olympics.
mhm.
How did that come about?
Honestly, like I was just kind of witnessing it from like social media because I wasn't here. They've always been so supportive because they've never had someone from Panguitch do this. So I think it's been special for the community as well, and they played a part. Like they helped, and I don't know. It's been really cool to see just what people are doing. Like why are you donating money? Why are you doing all these things? I had one of my cross country coach's husband makes shirts. He made all these shirts, and that's kind of how they made money. And I went to the Panguitch cross country practice, and one of the girls was wearing one of the shirts, and she didn't even know I was going to be there.
Oh,
And it's just really sweet. It's a very tight knit community, and I felt so backed up by them. And yeah, so many things. The little restaurant at Panguitch Lake did a weekend of fundraising. Like all the proceeds go to Whitney's family today, and just raise money that way too. And I'm like, I don't know some of these people personally. Like I know of them, I know their name and I know their face, but I don't like personally know every single person in the town, right? But these people that don't really know me are doing this for my family, and yeah, it's been really special and really cool to see just how supportive they are. I think I'm from a
oh
special
yeah.
place for sure with some special people, so I'm really grateful to be from Panguitch. But
Absolutely. And what was the reaction of the little cross country team when you showed up?
yeah, I think they were excited. I was excited, honestly. I'm like, this is full circle for me, like this is where it all started is here at this high school cross country practice. And now I've done a few different things and I'm coming back, and it's the same coaches that are incredible. They're putting in time. They're not getting paid anything, but they're like changing lives. Like they changed my life, and they're just building up these kids and giving them a purpose and teaching them some really important life skills, just mental toughness, and I think I was having a better time than they were. Like I was like, this is filling my whole soul. Like I'm so happy right now. So yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, because what does that mean to you because you've mentioned several times how much you love Panguitch, how much you love your hometown and what it's given you. What does it mean to you to know, because it's happening now, that you are kind of planting these seeds in the next generation that's coming up, and they're saying to themselves, I can do this. Even though I'm from Panguitch, Utah, this tiny town, I can become an Olympian one day, or a national champion, or whatever it may be. What does that mean to you to know that you're kind of a pioneer for your town in that regard?
I haven't thought about that a lot, but like thinking about that's really cool. Like I really hope that if anything, I can just instill in them that you can do whatever you want. Like it doesn't even have to be athletics. Anything you want in your life, if you want to do something that seems a little crazy, you can, but like also like you need to know it's going to take a lot of hard work, And so if I can be a little piece of that to where their mind isn't like so closed off to those things, like that's for other people, not for small town kids or any of those kids. Like I hope if anything, I can just have their mind have a little bit of a shift. Like, this is for me. So I think they have some special things here if they can believe as well.
How you got to the Olympics is just a crazy story in and of itself. And you've talked about it in other interviews. First, you only had 10 weeks to prepare for the trials because you were recovering from a surgery on your knee, which is just crazy. Is that right?
I got surgery November 20th, and I was running in February. And the trials were in June or July or something. I can't remember. I think it's the 1st of July, maybe. So however many weeks that is, I don't. But
so when you look back on that time of your life and what you were able to accomplish, you've mentioned before that God obviously had a hand in this, but what goes through your mind when you kind of look back at yourself trying to recover from that injury, and then it was a surprise to you, you make it on the Olympic team?
Yeah, looking back, like, I'm like, if I make a team, it is not me, it's God. I said that throughout the whole process. Like, this is not a normal thing. And like, I know what it takes to be at that level, and I know what you need to do. I know how much consistency you need. And for me, I wasn't at the absolute top. Like, I've been building and I've been climbing to the top, but like having a hiccup like that, it doesn't look good. I believed with full health and everything that I was going to battle for a team. And so being able to get pretty fit to the point where I was like, I still kind of had a shot. Like, we'll see, Yeah. That's not a coincidence, I definitely worked really hard, but I was praying for miracles often. And I had faith that I would get one. Looking back on that, it's just very apparent to me that it was God, and there was miracles involved. So
amazing.
Crazy, but
we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more with Olympian and BYU alum Whittni Orton Morgan. Hey Cougar fans, this is Lauren McLean. We have some amazing shows here at BYU Radio, including the Big Stories podcast, where host Cleon Walsh shares real-life stories from the Big 12 and beyond. Last season, Cleon brought you stories about walk-on TCU point guard Darius Ford, who went from homeless to college hoopster. And Kansas play-by-play announcer Brian Haney shared how he organized a basketball tournament to raise money for kids with cancer. This season, the podcast traveled to Tucson, Waco, Houston, Orlando, and other cities to bring you more amazing and inspiring tales. So check out Big Stories wherever you find podcasts or on the BYU Radio app. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean, continuing my conversation with Olympian and BYU alum Whittni Orton Morgan. All right, so we talked about you running in your small town, and then you end up earning a scholarship to BYU. What did that mean to you coming from Panguitch and then being able to run in one of the best track teams in the country?
Yeah, that was, I feel like, the start of it all, obviously. It was a big surprise. I feel like my whole career has been full of big surprises. Like, oh, I can run for BYU? Like, what? Like, I didn't think that that was a option for me. I thought like, oh, I'll run for a smaller school, get my school paid for. It'll be good. Like, that was the reason. That was the why. Like, oh, I'll get my school paid for. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But like as a kid, I think it's crazy when anyone knows what they want to be, but at that age. But so yeah, that was kind of like the idea. And then getting the opportunity to be on an insane team like BYU was kind of like, this is definitely the best offer that I have for sure. Like this, and it felt so right too, being there. Like I didn't know if I wanted to go to BYU. I went on my visit and I was like, I feel like that's always what happens. Whatever you're like not thinking you want is always what ends up being right, And I went on my visit and I was like, this is exactly where I need to be. So it was a big surprise, and just the same as when I made an Olympic team and when I was a national champ for cross country. My town was just like, holy cow, like what the heck, like no one's gone to BYU, from Panguitch for athletics. And so it was the same reaction then for that as it's kind of been for like the Olympics and for cross country as well. So
was that a big shock for you coming? You obviously had some great coaches in Panguitch, but was it a big shock when you started training at BYU kind of to their standard?
Oh yeah, there's so much I didn't know. Coach Taylor was like, who is this girl? Where does she come from? She doesn't know anything. Like, I didn't even know how to use my watch, like, truly. She's like, I want you to pace this one. I'm like, I do not know what you're talking about. I'm going to be real. We do not pace anything. I'm like, I just would go out and run as hard as I could for as long as I could, and then I was done. So she was like disgusted. She's like, what? So yeah, a big shock for me, a big shock for her too. I think she was like, what kind of girl is this? But
I'm sure that's fun for both of you to look back on now that you know each other so well and have spent so much time together. And I'm sure Coach Taylor had a huge hand in you deciding to become a professional runner. So I want to know at what point were you like, I want to do this professionally?
it was kind of just Coach Taylor instilling that I could, and I'm like, it's always like that moment of like shock. And I'm like, whoa, I can do this. Like, you mean me, And so it started with her saying that I could. And it was, I think, my second or third year at BYU. I think I was a sophomore at BYU. She's like, if you want to run professionally, like you have it, like you could do it. So I kind of had my sights on it since then. It's crazy when you choose the hard thing, what comes after that. When you commit to the hard thing, what comes? Because I wanted to give up so many times in the pursuit of each of the things. Or I had the thought like, ooh, I could just give up, or I could choose to push through. And we always chose to keep pushing through. I've seen in so many other people's careers, when they're choosing to come back from something, they come back so much better every single time. So it's kind of what happened, and I think what propelled us to be where we are now. So
what were some of those hiccups that you faced? Were they mostly injuries?
Yeah, I would say the majority would be injuries. And like when you get injured so often, you're like, is this even what I'm supposed to be doing? If I'm just injured all the time, like, am I doing the wrong thing with my body? Like, my body can't handle it apparently, or just like, do I really want to enter the professional world? Because it's pretty cutthroat, and they value you based on your performance. Your value as a person isn't on who you are as a person, but how fast you are. And so I'm like, do I want to be in that environment? And I had a few experiences like getting into the professional world, like in the decision making, like getting contracts and stuff, where that was so apparent to me that I was like, whoa, I am not a person to these people. I am a performance. And I had a bad performance, and it was crazy to see like how I was treated. But it was also very empowering when I decided to join that world, because I was like, I know where my worth lies, and it's not in my performance. It's in other things. And so I think getting into the world with that knowledge has helped me enjoy it and make the most of it more so than if I was just constantly just feeling less than for not being what they're expecting me to be.
Right.
So
That's difficult. That's hard.
Mhm.
And I want to know because like at BYU, it's easy to find motivation because you're doing it for your team, for BYU,
Mhm.
for Coach Taylor. When you're in the professional world, what's your motivation as a professional athlete to compete at your very best?
Yeah, at BYU, it's all laid out for you, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't have a lot of decisions to make. It's kind of like this is what you do. This is what coach gave you to do. This is your goal. She gave you your goal. You have a whole team doing it with you. Like it's for the team. It's for the school. And then when you get out, it's like, oh, you made the choice to continue doing this. So like, why are you doing it? And I really feel like I learned from Coach Taylor and my teammates like to have a deeper why for what you're doing. And I feel like Erica Burke Jarvis, when she came back from when she had a kid, and her why was
Yeah.
so apparent and so powerful. Like her why, she's running for her son, she's running for so much more because she loves this sport. I like always go back to that in my mind. Like her why was powerful, now I feel like I have a powerful why too. And I think that's important when you're sometimes have to be very self-motivated. You have to go and do things all by yourself and you need to do a good job, like you got to work hard.
Yeah.
And so I think having a deeper why, and I think for me, just attaching what I'm doing to like my core values, like who I want to be as a person is I want to be known as someone that is extremely tough and extremely resilient, extremely hardworking, and someone that like pulls people up with her. Like I want to help others do it too. And so when I would show up like that, you have a hard workout and you're like, well, I want to be a tough person, so I'm going to do this, you know, and or I want to be known as a hardworking person, so I'm going to do this, or I want to build my teammates, so I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
I think having it attached to my core values like that has really helped me be motivated day by day.
Mm. And that it really is what you mentioned. Like when you have to do it yourself, that's
Mhm.
so much harder when you have to be
Mhm.
self-motivated. So, man, that's incredible that you've been able to do that. And we were thinking back on all the injuries that you've had throughout your career as well. Can you briefly kind of can you name all the injuries that you've had throughout your running career that you've had to overcome? Can you think of all of them?
I don't even know. I've had multiple stress reactions, like tons and tons of those. I had my knee surgery was my patellar tendon. Like I had a tear in my patellar tendon and I needed to get surgery for that. The career like altering, I guess, injuries or like where you have to take a break, I think I've had close to like 10 of those. But there's also some just little, aches and pains that like make training hard too that you just kind of always have. So I don't even know.
Man,
But
your poor body, but your amazing body. Doesn't it make you think
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, my body is incredible, the things I've been able to do."
Exactly. Yeah. Like I was talking about that with my knee just the other day in New York when I was at my last race. Like, how is it that my knee is continuing to heal as I'm literally working it to death? Like I'm working my body so hard, but like I feel like my knee has still been improving because my knee's not 100% yet. And so
Mm.
it's just like our bodies are incredible. The fact that it's healing still and the fact that it recovered from a surgery and like handled all of that training, like it's kind of insane.
What are your goals for your next phase of your running career? You've made it to the Olympics. You were in the Olympic finals. So what's in your future for professional running?
I would love to just keep climbing the ladder. Whatever that looks like, just keep getting better. And if I continue to do that, like eventually I will end up doing bigger things. So just keep working, keeping consistent and fine tuning those things I need to work on mentally, physically, all those things that will get me to that next level. So
What excites you most when you think about what's next in your career, when you're looking towards the future?
excites me the most. I feel like I have gotten to a point in my running to where, like, 'cause it's been a journey to get to where I'm like, I fully, like, I do love the sport, but it's given me a lot of hardship, and a
Yeah.
lot of like pain. But like, I feel like I'm to the point where I'm like, I appreciate it and I accept it for what it is. And I think that it is I think it's where I belong, you know, in track. So when you're always coming back from injury, it's just really hard to enjoy it. You're like, I have to run outside myself all the time, like just outside of what I'm physically capable of. I have to be mentally, my mind has to overpower my body a lot when you're coming back from injury because you're just not in shape.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel really excited to just kind of keep building and building with that mindset of like, I'm doing this because I actually just love it. Like, and I think that's powerful too, to see what can happen when you're just happy and enjoying it. But
as a professional athlete, I'm sure this takes up so much of your time and your mental and physical capacities. What has it meant to you to have your husband specifically there to support you through this journey?
yeah, honestly, like, it's so funny because when I was like, we were deciding to get married, like, I was like, I don't know if I can do two things. Like, this is so much on me mentally, like, to run and like be this intense and this like high level running. And that was in college, you know? And so I was like stressed out about getting married because I'm like, I don't know if I can do both. This is so like, this is a lot. But like, it's been insane to just see the difference with having him, like just that support and that love unconditionally. And he sacrifices a lot, you know, for me to chase my dreams. And he's there on every single day, on the hard days, on the happy days. Like, he sees it all, and he's just there. He's just there, and he just loves me. And it doesn't have to be everything, you know? I'm like, we have this whole life together that, like, this is something I do. This isn't who I am. And
right.
He loves me for who I am. And so I feel like it's just powerful what we get to do together. Like, he gets to watch me chase my dreams, and I get to encourage and watch him chase his dreams as well. And that's kind of just, I feel like we're a team, and we're doing it together. So anything that I'm doing is, he's a big part of it, and he doesn't get the credit, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's definitely an us thing. And I'm very grateful to have him. And my thoughts of not being able to do it with him were silly because he doesn't make it harder. He makes it way easier, way easier. So
I love that. I love that so much. My last question for you is, when you look back at your career, what do you hope people will remember you as an athlete, remember about you as an athlete?
Yeah, like I do think about this, you know, because it's part of like your why, you know, like I want to be known as a tough woman, you know, that she pushed through a lot, and she just never gave up, you know. And Coach Taylor, her post that she did for me was like, this is what it looks like to relentlessly chase a dream. And that was like, that's exactly what I want to do, you know, like continue to relentlessly chase a dream. And I think it just looks like, how you do that is you just are so intentional with what you're doing every single day. And that's where the magic happens. So yeah, I want to be known as someone that relentlessly chases her dreams and is tough as nails. I think that means a lot to me for sure. And also like relies on God, because he's been the constant in my entire journey. That's how you get through the heart. That's how you get through the injury. That's how you get through the surgery. That's how you get through the mental battles. You know, it's with God. And we had a lot of like daily moments, you know, prayers that's where I got my peace, and that's how I pushed through. And that's how I cross trained for months, you know, when that's grueling and terrible and you hate it a lot of the times. Like I found myself enjoying it because I prayed to God to ask me, or to help me enjoy it and just enjoy my day, even though I'm doing something I hate. And I enjoyed it, you know? And so I think if people could remember me for those things, I would look back and be like, I did it the way that I believed in and I feel good about. So yeah.
So powerful. I'm here with Whittni Orton Morgan, Olympian and BYU track alum. Whittni, thank you so much for taking the time with me, especially during your relaxation period where you get to just focus on yourself and your family. So thank you so much again for doing this with me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to Annie Robinson and Sydney Simpson for producing this episode with senior producer Cleon Wall. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.